Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boys just coming to you with something a little bit different yet again. This is actually a clan war between two clans, DarkOnyx and Samurai Faith. I know that's something different than I usually do. It's something a bit messed up, a little bit odd for most people to be watching. However, I mean, honestly, it's a best of 9, so if 5 people on each team want these games to be commentated, I feel it's my duty to commentate these games. I feel like that's something I should do. Plus, I missed a couple days, or I'm late a couple days, so I'm just going to throw them all out there. Also, you can see as a fancy little addition, I added a score counter. Yeah, see? See? So for all the videos in this series, you'll know exactly what the score is because of this fancy score counter. So anyway, getting down and into the game, spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Entombed Valley, is Radar for the Team DarkOnyx. And up here in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent, Potatoless, spawning in for his team, Samurai Faith, up in the top right-hand corner. So we are going to have a PvT, and, this league is, this clan battle is kind of formed with all sorts of different leagues for both of these players. Radar happens to be a gold Terran. He's also the leader of DarkOnyx, with Potatoless being a platinum Protoss. And throughout this game, we're actually going to see tons of different players. DarkOnyx happens to have a gold, 3 platinums, and a masters player, whereas Samurai Faith has 2 platinums, 2 diamonds, and a masters. So the league advantage is slightly in Samurai Faith's, slightly on Samurai Faith's side, but I mean, it's all going to come down to it in the end. It's going to be very dependent, I feel, on the map, and because honestly, in a situation like this, you can do kind of a lot of different things, even if they seem to be outside of your skill level. And really, the difference between a high gold and a low platinum player is non-existent. They're the exact same player, essentially. You can't really say, I'm gold, you're platinum, because if you haven't played in 6 months, a gold will raffle stomp you as if you're platinum. That's just how it's going to go. So I'm really not going to be making any sort of judgments on these players' skill levels based on their leagues and such as that. We do see Radar building up quite a bit of minerals, and that would definitely be because he wants to drop that fast expansion. This is going to be a gasless FE on this map with 1 Rax, which I'm guessing he's going to do something like what MKP really favors to do, which is he lifts up this barracks, he floats it down here, and then he forms like a 4 barracks wall at the ramp. And he's actually not going to do that. He's going to completely prove me wrong there. He's going to wall off that ramp somehow, I'm just guessing, based on the placement of the supply depot. However, it's not going to be like the MKP very, very bio-heavy 4 barracks wall. Especially on this position, it's actually really nice, and this is something that people don't count, because the add-ons all come in on the right side. You can actually get 4 add-ons down on all of those barracks, and that's something that I feel that a lot of people don't really take into account as far as map positions go. Because actually, if you spawn here or you spawn here, you're kind of in a bad position as Terran. That's not really where you want to be, because then your tech labs are very easy to snipe. They're very prone to sniping and such as that. The SCV is getting chased out of the base by the Zealot, so it got actually a lot of scouting information. It knows exactly the timing on everything that's coming up. It knows that it's going to be a 1-gate robo, which typically signifies some sort of expand play. You don't really see a lot of pressure off of 1-gate robos, primarily because pressure is mainly based on getting a lot of gateway units up. It's not really based on getting an observer up really fast, which is usually what this build is based on. And we do see him going for an expand right now. His probe is obviously on the low ground to drop a Nexus, unless he's just going to absolutely blow me out of the water like 4-gate down there, but that wouldn't make any sense because there's no pylons yet. Now, of course, we have a Radar actually not going for the wall. He's just building a bunker, all as well. I'm not sure why he's building this bunker, because he did get that scout off, and really you should, at this point in the game, you should know that if he goes 1-gate robo, it's not going to be anything dangerous. He's just going to be getting that observer out, and then he's going to be expanding. That's really what Protoss do. Now, of course, I guess it could have been a fake. It could have been something sneaky where he just kind of feigns that robo, and then he cancels it and goes for 4 gateways and just absolutely destroys you if you don't have the bunker up. But honestly, that's why you have extra scouting information and scans. You would still see that coming from far enough off to get this bunker up. So it's really kind of just supplies that are locked down into a region. We have the SCV running around scouting for forward pylons. Always a reasonable decision. I would actually prefer to have him do it with like this Marine that's kind of sitting there doing nothing, rather than an SCV that could be mining. Just because that's my personal preference. This SCV is going to have quite a rough time getting up onto that high ground, and he figures that out pretty fast. SCVs are actually quite smart. They're quite intelligent. We do have a scan going down, actually picking the observer off. That is quite huge, but actually not as massive as it used to be, because it used to be observers took forever to build. But now they don't. They actually reduce the build time to 30 seconds, and 30 seconds in a game of StarCraft isn't that much. Especially if you consider the fact that in real time that's really like 20 seconds. So you know you can literally like sit there and just tap your foot and look at your watch and be like, why is this observer so late? Ugh. But you know, it really wouldn't be a hassle, and you kind of just come off as a snob. We do have radar actually going for an extremely protective formation right here. Lots of supply depots, lots of bunkers, and actually, you know, I don't like this formation as Terran. And I'm going to tell you why. Because force fields are so goddamn effective against it. Honestly, getting surrounded and getting run up your ramp is not scary if you're facing a Protoss player. Unless for some reason he went charge lots. And charge lots, again, is something you should see coming a long way off. The scary thing about this is that you're already limiting your SCV repair lines to a small part of this bunker. Any Protoss player worth his weight in salt will be able to toss down one force field and block off this bunker completely from repair, and it's really easy to get a bust off. This bunker is in slightly over positioning. You can see that it's way more open to SCV repairs, and honestly I would like to see this bunker like up here behind these supply depots, and then maybe this is replaced by barracks. Honestly, I think barracks are much better for walling off than bunkers. Bunkers should really be back in the line, because you know, that's kind of just where they belong. We actually have a warp prism coming out of this robotics facility for our Protoss player. Kind of interesting. We're going to see some sort of fancy little drop play with this. And we actually have him going for neither of our players are actually going for any like engineer bay upgrades, which, considering how important upgrades are to this matchup, kind of surprising. I would definitely have expected these players to start going for upgrades at some point. We do have that bust coming from Potatolisk. I'm not sure what this is. He gonna micro this warp prism with immortals? Because that would be freaking cool. Or is he just gonna drop them? Because dropping immortals, not useful. I would not suggest dropping immortals, primarily because they really don't do anything unless they're against Marauders. And like, what did that do? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, a massive misclick by this Protoss force might have just cost him a large chunk of his army. Because honestly, that was rough. You don't want to lose 2 immortals in an engagement like this. And we see that radar, his Marauders are going to be like 19 times as scary as they would have been. The high ground site just got eliminated for Potatolisk. I'm really surprised he doesn't have an observer. We have the factory, the scouting factory, that I thought was a drop, but then I was like, huh, that's moving a bit slow. But it's just the scouting factory, checking out the base, making sure nothing super sneaky is going on. He sees the yeah, okay, he knows that gateway's there. We have the the Twilight Council going on down. But of course, in this situation, I would expect it to morph into a Dark Shrine, because he's really not in the best situation. Losing those 2 immortals was key. It was very, very important. Those 2 immortals cost a lot. I'm not sure if people quite understand that, because immortals are like mid-tier units. Immortals are 250 minerals and 100 gas. That's freaking expensive in StarCraft dollars. Like, that's basically 2 stalkers apiece, and you know, in an army that has 4 stalkers, it's a pretty sizable chunk. We do see him going for what I can only guess is going to be a charge lot build at this point, because he has so many freaking zealots. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be charge lot Storm. Maybe charge lot Archons would also make a lot of sense, but he should probably research charge if he has so many freaking zealots, because zealots otherwise are pretty useless against the Terran Bio Ball. We do have the factory driving in for another scouting attempt, and it's going to use the cover. You know, this factory is kind of just going to auto shot, and there's the force fields. But honestly, when your army is made up of 95% zealots, this is exactly what you don't want to do. You don't want to create choke points. You don't want to not have charge, because the Bio Ball will pick you apart, and it will pick you apart easily. Also, running into split units after you force field them, not a good decision. There's a couple of key flaws in this Protoss' battle plan that's actually just going to lose him the game outright. You never want to run into a Terran like that, especially if you get force fields like that, because those were all pretty freaking spectacular force fields. And if he just sat on his heels and just shot with his stalkers, I'm actually pretty confident he could have won that engagement decisively. However, there goes that engagement. I'm pretty sure there goes the game. So it looks like I'm going to need to update this overlay with a fancy 1 next to DarkOnyx, because I don't know how Potatoelisk is going to hold this off. He doesn't have Storm yet. He has 1 Archon. Now 1 Archon is actually an extremely good unit. It's just not good against such a heavy ball of Terran Bio, especially if that Terran Bio is actually getting microed quite well. And Potatoelisk with the Wall, he probably understands everything you did, but I'm not sure if that Wall constitutes good manner. I'm going to call it like so-so manner. So, you know, it's reasonable. It's reasonable manner. So I'm just going to really... Okay, never mind. I'm going to figure out how to edit the overlays before I start recording the next game. Then I'll be good to go. So anyway, guys, thank you for checking out this video. You can check out any other videos I've commentated over at youtube.com/user/boisteroussc2. Also, if you want to submit any games that you want commentated to me, you can send them on into boisteroussc2@gmail.com. Thank you all for watching. This is Boisterous, signing out.